Chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records of a trace, when your crime is organized. No man is over me, I'm high in the morning time. Low key in the birds when I'm crossing state borderlines. Spin your block and horrified. Fuck you bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga, hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine, both of mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime, you know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me, I don't need them to notice me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do them bogusly. Smoke you like the stove in you, beat you like you stole from me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment, niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me, that's what they supposed to do. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think I'm bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all the smoke, nigga.
Yo, what's good, what's good? What's up?
And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm
cracking, yo. Yeah, we back. I know y'all see the title. It was all good just a week ago. White Rage and World War III, right? We're gonna get into it. I little under the weather and stuff. They try to get me sick, you know what I'm saying? But, I'm feeling a little better and all that cool stuff. Got a little tea and all that, so I'm good to go. But yeah, of course, we want to give all praises to the Most High. We do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right? Who the world mistakenly calls Jesus Christ, right? So yeah, we gonna get right into it, right? We ain't gonna waste no time. We're gonna get right into it. So yeah, by now, of course, if you don't know, you've probably been living under a rock, who they call the Republican activist or whatever, Charlie Kirk, he was unalive last week, right? And there's a lot of mixed feelings and emotions, going out about it, right? And all that stuff, right? So we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about, how these armies is setting up for World War III as well. But yeah, so now let me say this. Let me give my official stance on that matter as far as Charlie, the whole Charlie, the shooting of that, right? Now, me personally, I don't care if he lived or died, wherever it may occur, So that, that part, I'm like, yeah, but, like what Cameron say, people die every day, B, right? But one part, that is concerning is, and I'll give him credit, because I do believe giving credit where it's credit is due. And the thing is, like, in that, forum, you wouldn't expect certain things like that to happen. Then where I give him credit at is that, although he said the things he said, he said the things to the opposition face, so he didn't just say the stuff. He will actually say it, then give you a chance to respond to it. So that part, I can respect, and because it's all about having a conversation, and people lost the ability to have conversations, and then because people are so emotional and so sensitive nowadays that you can't have certain conversations. So now, in that regard, I, you know, respect the fact that he would say what they would call controversial things, and then he would give the whatever audience he addressing. Yeah. So yeah, Salakia, right? So give him so he'll give him a chance to rebut. So and but then so it's messed up. That you have people that will go to that extreme to do something like that. So yeah, that part is messed up. But do I care that he's here or not? Nah. Nah. But far as the situation at whole, without taking him out of it and just looking at just that incident, it's messed up because, like I said, it's not like he was the just talking to an echo chamber. He would say stuff and go to the places and give people a chance to come back to stuff he says. So, in that regard, I don't think it should have happened like that. Right? Now, do I think we should celebrate? No, I don't think we should celebrate, but I don't think we should, be acting like this man was like some type of Christian martyr neither. Right? So, and that's another thing, and so my official stance would be, I just think as black and brown people concerning that, we should not emotionally participate in that. We should emotionally separate ourselves from that situation, right? Because it has nothing to do with us. That's what they call white on white crime, right? White on white crime. That's what it sounds like to me, right? And so yeah. Now, when it first happened, I seen that, probably like minutes after it happened or whatever, right? It was a good brother was on it, what I'm saying? He had it before the news was talking about it. So I seen that, and the first thing that popped in my head when I seen it was this Bible verse here. And that is this one right here. Ooh. That's Exodus 11:7, right? One of my favorite verses, right? And as I'm watching it, cause I seen that, and I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, cause I just thought it was probably fake or something. But then when I seen it, I'm like, oh, okay. But now this is what popped in my head. So it says, but against any of the children of Israel, which is us, the black, Hispanic, and Native American people, that's what they call us on this side of the world, we would be the children of Israel. We make up the 12 tribes, right? So it says, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, right? So God is like, look, I'm not cool with any dog. And metaphorically, the Bible calls the other nations, the Gentile nations, dogs. In case you didn't know that, you know now. So the Bible calls them dogs or heathens or sometimes. So now God says this though. So now we can take it both ways. We can take it metaphorically. How the Bible likened the other nations to dogs, and even Jesus said it himself in Matthew 15:4. In 15:24. And then, and literally. So it says, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue. So God don't even want a dog barking at us the wrong way, right? So this guy, been going around saying crazy stuff about black and brown people, right? And using faulty statistics to say it. And we have to understand, like, because our people, our black people, our black and brown people, when we think about racism, we think about somebody riding in a pickup truck and they got a Confederate flag hanging from the back and they saying the N-word 1,000,000 times a day, right? It's something called sophisticated racism, right? Where, you know, the ideology is still the same, but it's sophisticated enough where it doesn't ruffle anybody's feathers, right? And so, and that's what we have to understand, the nuances of racism. Like, Neely, you know, I quote Neely Fuller all the time. He says, if you don't understand racism and how it works in all areas of activity, what you think you understand about racism will only confuse you. And that is very true. Because the typical black person that think about a racist, that think about a little pot-belly redneck, you know, with a stained t-shirt screaming the N-word. But that's not the case. Some of the biggest racists wear a suit and a tie, right? And some of the biggest racists might look just like me and you. Dark skin. Because you gotta understand, white supremacy is not a person, it's an idea, right? And that's where we get caught up on. Yeah, typically, you know, because white supremacy benefits what they call so-called white people, Caucasians, but it's a idea of that, you know, being them feeling supremacy and then others buying into that idea that, yes, these are the supreme ones, right? And so that's how you can be like this color and still be a white supremacist, right? Because you go against your own interests to support the system, right? So yeah, that's what I first thought about my very first initial thought when I very first saw it, like the first 5-10 seconds of me seeing it just popped in my head. It says, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye should know that how the Lord do put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel, right? So, like I said, God don't like people talking crazy about us. And although, you know, we're not at our glory state how we should be as a people, but we getting there, right? And a lot of us waking up. So yeah. And so God, like, I look at it like God just got tired of this man that's running his mouth. Because he was in the midst of about to, you know, tell a lie to let the truth be told. Because the conversation wasn't about, you know, gang violence. And you got to understand political talk. You got to understand how we say hip talk. You got to understand the slang, the vernacular, right? Gang violence is equal to black people. You know, when they say gang violence, they're not talking about the little suburban gangs, the little skateboard gangs, the little skateboarders and stuff over there, right? They're not talking about them. They're talking about the blacks when they say gang violence. So, and the conversation they were having that led up to that point was about transgenders, you know, committing act of violence. And he was getting questioned on that, and he, you know, flipped it. He tried to flip it, you know, to, you know, when he started saying gang violence, and, you know, that's when the Lord said, all right, we got enough of this. So yeah, right. But then you have, you know, like I said, it's not anything to celebrate, you know, because, you know, America is supposed to be what they call freedom of speech, right? And, you know, it's just a simple fact, again, it's just that people are trying to portray this thing like he was a Christian martyr. And I don't mind them doing it. It's just sickening to see us doing it. For the simple fact that we act like we did not hear the things he said, right? We act like the things he said did not exist. We act like this man really and truly was for black people. And I think I've been trying to think about this because you know, I've been trying to figure out the mind of a coon. I was trying to think, Is it because he believe in white Jesus, like they believe in white Jesus, that they're, you know, sharing this, you know? Because I'm thinking like, because we went over this. When we went into the history of Christianity, when we was looking at the King Leopold letters, his decree that he put out, you know, to the missionaries on how they should, you know, administer Christianity to the uninitiated, right? And the point was to make the people that they come encounter with, when they indoctrinate them with Christianity, to be docile so they can enslave them, right? We that's documented. This is stuff that we can read in history on how they used Christianity to enslave the Western world, right? So I'm thinking, right? Because I'm really trying to figure this stuff out, and I'm just thinking like Christianity did a real good job on us. They turned us into slaves, because that was the whole point, to make us docile. We really got to a point where if we know somebody is bad, right? We know somebody is bad, and they did very bad things, but the type of Christianity that black people practice doesn't allow us to call out the evilness that we see in the other people. But we'll say about ourselves, though. We'll talk about us all day long, but we do not talk about the evils we see in other people. We preach forgiveness when we see the evil in other people, right? That's very quite interesting, right? That's something we should have a study on, because it's another group of people in this country that also call themselves Christians, right? And I would probably even say that that other group of people that call themselves Christians introduced the so-called black and brown people to Christianity, right? And the Christianity that they practice allows them to exact vengeance and call fire down from heaven on their enemies, right? After they say a prayer first, then they go, strap up and get into their airplanes and bomb everything, right? That's what they do after their Sunday Mass, right? So it's just quite interesting, like how we in this country, and we call ourselves Christians, and everybody's Christians, right? But when you look at it, do we really follow the same Christianity? Because I see black people all over the place talking about forgiveness and all this stuff. When Dylan Roof was a Christian, right? Remember Dylan Roof, the one that went into that black Christian church? And that's another thing that quite interesting when you think about it. Christianity, we all Christians, we all believe in white Jesus, but your place of worship that you go to, they call it a black church. But hey, I thought we was all Christian though, right? I mean, why is my place called a black church, right? But hey, I guess we all following the same thing, right? Hey, I guess he followed what we followed, right? So he goes to this black church, and the black members in that church prayed for him as he reloaded and shot him. Right? That's the type of Christianity that black people practice. Right? They was praying for this man as he was shooting at them. Right? That's what they was talking about. This guy, Tyler, right? And that's another thing. Never trust a white man named Tyler. Tyler, they giving this man the death penalty, right? They gonna kill this man for what he did to that guy last week, right? But there's no forgiveness in their Christianity. The governor of Utah, gets on TV and says, for 36 hours I prayed that it wasn't one of us, right? I prayed that they was from another state, that they were basically he was saying he was hoping it was a N-word, right? He was hoping it was one of these brownies that did it, right? He was hoping it was one of these border jumpers that did it. He was hoping that it wasn't one of this good old Christian white brothers that did it, so he can say, look, hey, I told you, right? But he couldn't say that. He said, what'd he say? My prayers wasn't answered. Because the Lord ain't dealing with that bull. You think the Lord gonna allow you to live a lie, right? Here's the thing. The FBI knows who's the criminals is, right? Here's the thing that they always say, you know, before I get into what the FBI say. They say, yeah, black people 13% of the population, but we commit 50-something% of the crimes, right? That's what they say, right? But but what they don't mention, those are arrests, right? Those are not convictions, right? And what they don't mention is, at the same rate that we're getting arrested a lot, because that's what that status actually is, and not just when they say we're committing crimes, it's just arrests. What they're not admitting is we also lead in a statistical category of exonerations. So what does that mean? That means although we're getting arrested at an alarming rate, we are getting arrested for stuff we have not did, right? So to say that we commit 50% of the crimes, that is a faulty number, because we have another number that says that we are exonerated at a high rate. So that means that 50% arrest rate that we have, most of that is fluff, because we're after we get arrested, we're not even getting convicted of those things we're getting arrested for because we didn't do nothing, right? But they don't say that because that's not convenient to their argument, because their argument is to make us look like the criminals, like we're the bad ones, right? We're 13% of the population, right? How is that possible for us to cause havoc, right? We have no army, we have no funding to help do anything, right? So come on now, that's crazy, right? They are the criminals, right? And the thing is, the FBI, they know this. They know who is the domestic terrorist. They know who's most likely to commit a heinous crime domestically, right? They know this, right? And it is the white male, right? That's not a secret. Everybody knows these things, right? And and what makes it so dangerous is that they're unprofilable, right? And this is not my own opinion, right? Because anybody that know. I rarely say my own opinion, and when I do say my own opinion, I would tell you it's my own opinion, right? I'm speaking from the stuff that they say about themselves. These are FBI's stats. They're unprofilable, right? And because it's hard to profile them, because they look so normal, so nice, so sweet, so innocent, you know, like, wow, why did he, you know, why did that have to happen to that little nice Christian young man, right? You know, that's the, you know, but take a guy like, what's his name? What's his name? Tyler. Forgot his last name, right? The guy that did the thing last week. Normal guy, right? He looks normal, right? A little goofy, but normal, right? You wouldn't think that he can hit a target from 200 yards away, 2 football fields long away. You wouldn't think that, right? Looking at this guy, you wouldn't think that, right? Because they're unprofilable. Jeffrey Dahmer did what he did for as long as he did. Why did he do that? Because look at him, he's goofy. He got glasses, right? He's tall and lanky. Look at him, right? He's socially awkward, right? Look at him. They didn't know he was chopping up people in the living room and making stew. They didn't know that. Because he's unprofilable. Let me tell you what, I think it was the great Khalid Muhammad said it, right? I think it was the suit that they wear, which is that spirit of wickedness, right? And let's get it real quick. Let's get it real quick. Right here. I'm just going to start at 4. It says, whereas Edom said, we're impoverished, but we will return and build in desolate places. Thus said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. So this is Malachi 1 and 4. So it says, they should build, but I will throw down. And they should call them the border. Who's the them? The whole people of them, right? And they should call them the border of wickedness. And the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. Meaning righteous hatred. So they have that spirit, they just wicked. They embody wickedness because the Lord said they did. And he created them that way. Let's get one more just to prove it. Let's get what it say? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so this Habakkuk 2 and 4. It says, behold, his soul that is lifted up is not upright. So meaning the spirit that God put in these people is not a upright spirit. That's why the things they do and how this world is being operated, it's not a just world. It's not a just system that we live in. Because it says, behold, his soul which is uplifted is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Right? So they're wicked, and the spirit that God put in them when he created them is not a spirit of goodness. It's not upright. Okay? So that's why they're unprofilable, because it fits them so well. Just like I was going to say, our dear brother Khalid Muhammad, I believe he was saying that the suit that they wear of evil, you can't never detect it on them until they just go berserk, right? That's why I used to work at when I used to work out in this little suburb, and I used to always ask. I used to, when I see one of them, and I always ask, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" Right? Not like how you doing, but like how you doing. Like I need to know, are you all right up here, right? Make sure you, because sometimes they be complaining, right? And I've been black my whole life, and some of the stuff they used to complain about at work. And I used to be like, that's just normal stuff that black people go through at work. So, so I used to have to watch them, right? So you got to keep your eye on them, right? You never know. So, you never know. So you always got to, because you never know. So he was saying that, the spirit that's on them is basically saying it's undetectable. And that we're not created to, although we I'm not saying that we're perfect angels and we don't do anything wrong. We do bad, evil stuff all the time. But on us, you can see that spirit on us. You can look at a black and brown person. You can look at an Israelite and like, something ain't quite right with that person, right? I'm gonna leave them alone. They ain't looking right. Something a little off about Buddy over there, right? Because that spirit don't fit us. So when it's on us, you can see us looking a little crazy and looking like we might do something to somebody. You can see it on us because that's how it appears on us. On them, they just look normal. you will never know. Because, it's not like they're raising their voice and they're yelling and doing all this stuff. Before you know it, you done got chopped up somewhere and eaten or whatever, right? So, just that we gotta be circumvent and we gotta understand these things. Like what it says right here. Right here, what it says. So it's Romans 9:21. It says, "Have not the potter power over the clay, the same lump to make one vessel to honor," which is the Israelites. Because when it says, what it says, "Have not the potter have power over the clay," right? And that clay is talking about, how they say, like, we was all created from one blood, right? That one blood, one blood, one blood. See, let me stop. I was about to straight go. I'm a little re a little bit sometimes. But yeah, one blood, right? Because through Adam, then, of course, the flood happened. So technically, basically through Noah and his sons. But Noah being a descendant of Adam, so that's why we kind of tied them together. But technically speaking, it would be actually through Noah. But that one blood, because all from Noah and his descendants, all these nations that we see today was created, right? But it says right here, "Have not the potter power over the clay, the same lump to make one vessel to honor." So that one vessel that he made out of that one blood, he took the Israelites and we made us to be a honor vessel, right? That's why we is his chosen people. Then it says, "And the same unto dishonor." So he made them to be the way that they are. Everything we ever see them do in history, right? From the time of Alexander the Great, right? And we can say that for the simple fact that they have no written history before Alexander the Great, right? They've been around, right? Because, they was down there in Edom, down there in Petra, they got the little figurines that they curated, but they have no written history until Alexander popped on the scene, right? And they try to deny everything else before Alexander. But we know who you are, right? So it says, so from the time of Alexander, everything they have done all the way to this day, it was destined for them to do it. He created them to do those things, right? And because that's just what they're made to do. So, because it says, "Have not the potter power over the clay, in the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor," right? And just so happened, that's their lot, right? And we can prove it further, right? Because I know some of y'all, right, is still Christians. And I mean that, in a good way. And what I mean by that is, y'all don't believe this book, right? Y'all don't believe that in this book, that this God of this book is only for the people of Israel, right? Y'all probably still believe that he's, this all humanitarian God, right? But no, God told us exactly how these people is going to live and how they're going to get down, right? Right here real quick. So right here, let's start right here. So Genesis 25 and matter of fact, let's start at Genesis 27. Right, we ain't gotta get I ain't gonna go too far back. Let's go to Genesis 27. Then it says, let's start at 38. Genesis 27 and 38. "And Esau said unto his father," so Esau is the progenitor of the so-called Caucasian, no matter what they call themselves today, right? Then it says, "Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but only hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. Esau lifted up his voice and wept. So he's crying and begging, like, man, please, I need a blessing, right? I want to get down. And it says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling should be the fatness of the earth. Meaning, all right, you're going to live in the good parts of the earth, right? Because we look at where they live at, they manage to steal all the, the best parts of the earth, and they take it for themselves, and they leech off of the rest of the land. So it says, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. Right? So, they're gonna, be in the, good places, riches and all that stuff, right? Then it says, but how are they gonna get this nice lavish life and these, nice land and riches and all that stuff, right? How is this gonna happen? It says, and by the sword thou shalt live. So how is he gonna attain all of his wealth and his, territory and land and all the stuff that they have to this day? It says, by the sword thou shalt live, right? So that's why they're, it's already been prophesied that they're gonna just, be the way they are. It says, by the sword thou shalt live, and thou shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shall have dominion, thou shalt break the yoke from his neck. And that's what happened, now that they got dominion, saying they like, look, we ain't going back in chains, right? Because it was upon a time when King David was in rulership, King David and I believe Solomon also, we had them in a rightful position, right? Servitude. So, but then came upon a time where they, broke free. Then all that stuff, right? But it's gonna be. But anyway, so the point is, they were created to be that way, and it was prophesied even way back in Genesis that they're gonna live by the sword. All their riches and all that stuff they're gonna maintain is gonna be with the sword. That's why they have their military power is so strong. That's why they have, military bases on every continent and ready for war at any given time. That's why Trump is in Venezuela for whatever reason, blowing up little boats that's leaving out of the country. For what? Because they have no choice. They are war-like creatures, right? And it says, let me jump over here, Genesis 25 and 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And that's what he is, a cunning hunter, right? That's why little Tyler, that doesn't look like a killer, right, can hit somebody from 200 yards away, because they are cunning hunters, right? So, it says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And we like to chill. We don't be on all that crazy stuff. We just want to chill on the weekend, throw a little barbecue party. You know what I'm saying? We ain't trying to do all that extreme stuff, right? Just don't bother us, right? But they, because it says their spirit is not lifted up in them, you know what I'm saying? It's not upright up in them. They're the border of wickedness. They have an emptiness. So they always have to do things to make them feel alive. That's why they got to jump out of planes. That's why they have to do death-defying things so they can feel that life that they so longly want, that they would not get, right? Pursuant to Hebrews, right? Can't y'all just think I'm just saying stuff? Hebrews, of course. Everything I say is in here. So, I ain't going to dwell on it too much, right? But I am going to read this, though. It's another thing that popped in my head when all that stuff happened. What was it? Hold on one sec. Boom, boom, boom. Where we at? Where that? Boom. Alright. So yeah, remind me of this too, because when I start seeing like so many black people caping for him, and first thing I'm like, well, we know who voted for Trump. You know, that's what first thing I was popped in my head when I seen all this sad faces going on about the whole thing. I'm like, well, we know who voted for Trump. Then I'm like, just thinking, I'm like, cause like I said, I've been trying to figure this out. But then this popped in my head. What was it? Dang, I just didn't do me like that. First Maccabees. So it's First Maccabees 1 and 11. So First Maccabees 1 and 11. So this is all I was thinking, because again, how we just briefly went over earlier about how the indoctrination of Christianity purpose is to make you a subservient slave to whatever nation that put you under that spell, right? And so it says, in those, because I was trying to figure out why is so many so-called black Christians is like, up in, in tears and stuff. I'm like, this guy actually speaks for him when he doesn't, right? So it says, in those days, so it's First Maccabees 1 and 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men. So what do God call people that will go against their own interests of their nation to join with other people? What did God call them? In those days went out there of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, so what are these people doing with these little TikTok videos, their little YouTube shorts or whatever they putting on, trying to portray this man like he was some type of Christian martyr that loved black people, showing little clips of him and Candace Owen, who we're not really quite sure she's black. Joking. But, and listening to R. Kelly, right? So it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuade many, saying. So all these people is trying to persuade us, make us think, well, maybe this little egghead dude wasn't so bad, right? Maybe we jumped the gun, right? Maybe, and it's crazy because like I was saying earlier, the Christianity that we practice, we're not allowed to feel any disdain for, other people other than other black people. We allowed to hate black people all day long in our Christianity that we practice. But God forbid if we criticize the white man in our Christianity, then we are committing sacrilege, right? And what is wrong with us? We done spit in Jesus' face, right? That's how it's seeming. But it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuade many, saying, let us go and make us a covenant with the heathen. So that's all I'm thinking is like, when they was playing those little videos, I think it was, I don't know, was it the same day, same night, that white man fight back, white man fight back, I don't know who they was telling to fight back, maybe, there's a crowd of people out there. Maybe in the middle of that crowd of people, there was something going on in that crowd that we couldn't see. Maybe. I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I'm trying to understand this, right? So, and I'm thinking, our people saw that, and they like, oh jeez, oh gosh, oh man, they coming, help. And they started grabbing a white flag and telling the white folks like, hey look, we ain't them niggas over there, right? Because what happened? They started threatening the little HBCUs, right? Isn't that crazy? We did nothing, right? It's not one single drop of black person in Utah, right? Wasn't no black person at that little rally thing that pulled the trigger. But yet they coming at us. And then yet you have a section of black people trying to, act like it's cool and defending and stuff. It's crazy. Right? So, again, we're not celebrating anything. I'm just talking about the hypocrisy that, that the so-called Christians, claim they follow. And how I'm just pointing out the differences of the Christianity that black people follow versus the Christianity that white people in America follow, right? It's a very vast difference, right? And you gotta ask yourself, like, which one is correct? I mean, because again, their Christianity allows them to exact vengeance on their enemy, right? When 9/11 happened, that they just was celebrating last week, when that happened, they said they said their prayers and stuff for the victims and all that. They felt bad and sorry, about what happened. And then they got into their airplanes and they went to war. That's what they did. They didn't say, no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. They didn't do that, right? They didn't say, oh, dang, Bin Laden. Dang, what do we do? We're so sorry, Bin Laden. How can we make this better? Oh my God. Come on. It gotta be a way we can work this out. They didn't do none of that, right? They got into airplanes and they went over there and they bombs over Baghdad, bang out, don't you know what bang? What's that Outcast song? You know what I'm talking about. That's what they did, right? But the Christianity that we do, we go around praying and singing for everybody, right? So like that's just crazy, right? But that's kind of like the thing that we into. So you gotta ask yourself a question, like, who are we defending, really? Right? It's crazy. So it says, read it one more time. In those days went out there wicked men of Israel who persuade many, saying, let us go and make covenant with the heathen that are around about us. For since we had departed from them, we have had much sorrow. That's some Uncle Tom stuff, right? And that's what popped in my head when I seen all this stuff going on. Like, this dude didn't care nothing about y'all. And y'all caping for this man, right? That, that would say, what would he say? Let's see what some of the things he would say. Hold on 1 second, bear with me.
To use this feature, please make sure your app is running and can access the internet.
Hold on. Hold on, where is it? This thing wanna act a little crazy. Hold up. Hold on. Hold on. Here we go, right here.
Roll the tape.
Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying Happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work.
You live like a capitalist every single day, Shank.
Yeah.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot.
This shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was back, I even think that we should bring back, public executions on certain people. No, if I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. It creates resentment.
Yeah, you're probably feeling resentment because you are a rape.
So, I mean, that's some of the things he said, right? And so, but we have people, that would defend that because I believe, this is my theory, the indoctrination of this Christianity that we practice allow us to forgive those that are very detrimental to us, right? And hate those that look just like us, right? That's just my theory. So yeah. Right, let's get enough with that, right? 'Cause I think we spent longer than I wanted to spend talking about that man and his people, right? So again, that's white on white crime. Let them handle that, right? Let the Accelerists and the MAGA people fight it out, right? Let them have their civil war and fight over this big, great country that they done stole from everybody. Let them do it. That's why I started off by saying that my official stance is I think we should emotionally and spiritually separate ourselves from they little squabble, right? Don't get on there talking about, well, Democrats do this and Republicans do that. Hey, let the Accelerists and the MAGA, let them fight. Let the Accelerists come together and they put their army together, and let the MAGA people do whatever they want to do. And let them just do it, right? We should stay out of it. Because if we don't stay out of it, believe me, that white man fight back stuff is going to be in every little neighborhood. Because, they only looking for a reason, right? Because, like I started off saying, like, the Utah governor was praying, hoping that it was a nigger that did it, right? Because what did he say? He said that a white guy is more likely to get killed by a black man, which is untrue, right? Crimes are committed by who is closer in their vicinity. There's no such thing as black on black crime. There's no such thing as white on white crime or any other type of crime. Crime happens because who is closer to you, right? White people kill white people at the same rate. Black people kill black people at the same rate. It's all about proximity, right? Never in history have at least documented, have a black person unalive a white person because they were white. That doesn't happen in America. Although a black person have unalive a white person, but it's not because they were white. But it's been many occasions that a white person has unalive a black person because they were black, right? That is, that's a crime. You know what I'm saying? That's, that's the real racial crime right there, right? So, we gotta understand that. So, yeah, let's get into this World War III thing, though, right? How this stuff is shaping up, right? Because, like I said, you got these people, man. You got Putin doing this thing. You got them, you got them coming. You got Trump down in Venezuela blowing up little boats and stuff, claiming that they're drug dealers. without even arresting anybody, doing any type of due process. So I guess nowadays, if you're a drug dealer, that's the death penalty now. I guess now that's the wave, right? I guess we're killing drug dealers now, supposedly, allegedly, right? Without any type of due process. That's what's happening, right? And everybody's cool with it. So I don't think we understand what's happening. So let's see what we got. First, let's go to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah. Hold up. Let's go to Jeremiah. I'm trying to see where we're going to start at. Alright, we'll start at start at 50, right? 51. We'll jump around. So hold on one second. So let's read this. Let's start at it's Jeremiah 50 and 22. So, I like reading this verse when we be on this topic because we gotta remind ourselves about this. So it says, a sound of battle is in the land, and a great distraction, right? And that's what we gotta keep in mind. Although this distraction stuff been going on for the past week, the stuff that happened with Faux Boy and all that stuff. And, there's distractions going on because Russia is making moves. Trump is doing things down in Venezuela. Israel is still doing what they're trying to do. And it's just crazy, right? So, it says a sound of battle is in the land and great destruction, right? Let's get it says right here. Turn this fan down a little bit. Right. So it says, let's start here though. It says LA police fire over 1,000 projectiles at protesters in a single day. It says LA PD fire over 1,000 projectiles at 6,000 protesters June 8th amid demonstrations against immigration policies. California restricted less lethal munitions used in 2021, raising concerns about potential law violations. Protesters blocked freeway and set fires. Police report 52 injured officers. 52 injured officers. Experts express concern over projectiles used, emphasizing need for better crowd management techniques. Lawsuit filed. A federal judge blocked rubber projectiles used against journalists following incident. Right? Hey, where my podcast? Boom, boom. Yeah. So, and that's the thing, because, like, we was getting into this last week about the civil unrest that's coming to this place, right? And we see the beginning stages of this civil unrest, and for some of you people, I guess you thought it was going to start last weekend when they was chanting, "White man fight back, white man fight back," right? Some of y'all was scared, right? So what's this right here? Let's get second Ezra. Second Ezra. So right here, it's Second Ezra 13 and 29. It says, "Behold, the day shall come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, and one shall undertake to fight against another." And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing other, people coming together to fight against one another. And it says, one should undertake to fight against another, one city against another. Right? So that civil war is coming, whether you like it, understand it, or not. They want one. Antifa, them people, the MAGA people, what's the other people I named? The Cellarists, all these people. They want it. Right? So it says, and they thought he was going to get it, because in their ideology, because this man was going around saying a white person is more likely to get killed by a black person. So they was hoping. So like that Utah governor, when he prayed to his white Jesus, that please let it be a nigger that killed him, please. And his prayer didn't get answered. He was heartbroken. He said that, right? And because they want that war, they want to fight. Why do you think they buy all these guns? I said this before. It's not enough hunting in the world for somebody to do with all that ammunition that they buy, because they want a war. See, this is the thing. The thing about us, we get our Second Amendment on because we believe in protecting our family and, making sure, we're able to, have some type of level of security when it comes to our property, and make sure, nothing comes, there's no harm that can come to us. We have it for protection, right? For the family. But their thought process of the Second Amendment is, we got these guns because we're going to go and hunt down government officials that we don't like, right? Any government official we don't like, we have the right and the power in our hands to take them out. And they act accordingly to that. Ever since John Wilkes Booth, the one that shot Lincoln. So everybody's acting so crazy. I was telling a brother that what happened last week is very American, right? That is the most American thing you can see, right? That's how America is violence. Violence is America, right? That's the most American thing you can ever see, right? And in the arena of politics, that's always a realm for violence, right? And just so happened, the man was in politics, right? Now, although I said what I said earlier, my official stance, right? And then, you can you can rewind it. You want to hear my official stance? Like I said, do I think the man should have got shot? No, I don't think he should have got shot. Do I care that he got shot? No, I don't care that he got shot. But do I think he should? No. But that's just the game. That's politics, right? Politics causes violence on any level, right? So, and it's always been like that. So it's not anything new, especially here in America. That is embedded in their politics, violence, right? So we just gotta understand that. What else and it says, and one should undertake to fight against another, and one people against another, and one realm against another. Boom, boom, boom. So, right? So, and that's what's going to take place. And the civil unrest, like we were speaking, and we see it in these other countries, right? And it's just a matter of time before America just fully bubbles over into all of that, cause they trying, they really trying, right? Over here it says this 15. Start at this is 2nd Ezra 15. I'm gonna start at 15. So it says, "For the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another, and the sword and sword in their hands." Right. So civil unrest is coming. Let me turn this thing all the way off. Civil unrest is coming, right? Civil war is coming, right? Neighbor against neighbor is coming. And it says, "The sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and the sword in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes." So in that day, none of these government officials is going to be able to get on TV and say a good word to stop these people from going crazy, from tearing up everything, right? No police officer is going to be able to fire a shot to make everybody scatter in that day. And it says, "They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Meaning they're going to do whatever the hell they want in that day. It's not an army or police official, government official that's going to stop them. They're going to, what was that, January 6th? They tried January 6th. This time, their attempt is going to be very successful. They will take down the government, because the Bible says that they're going to take the government down. We just read it. So, like I was saying, like, we should read a movie to watch. I think it's it's not like point by point, but give you a good idea. Watch that movie Civil War, right? That came out last year, right? So you gotta understand what's going on here. And a lot of us is caught up in whatever we caught up in. We don't understand what's happening. These people are about to go to war and blow up everything, right? That's what World War III is about. Everybody fighting everybody. And we worried about some crazy stuff, right? And it says, "Men should desire to go into a city and should not be able to, because their pride of the city should be troubled, and the houses should be destroyed, and men should be afraid." So it's going to be crazy. Martial law. All hell breaking loose. You're not going to be able to leave. It's going to be curfew, right? You're not going to be able to go here and there, right? Let's get this real quick. It says let me read this. So it says, go back to Jeremiah 50 and 22. So it says, "A sound of battle was in the land, great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut to cinder and broken? How is Babylon become desolate?" And America is called Babylon in the Bible, in case you don't know, right? And it's not talking about the ancient Babylon, because if you do the history on ancient Babylon was never destroyed, right? It's historical accounts on that, and ancient Babylon wasn't destroyed. In fact, you can look at it right now. It's called Iran, and stuff like that, right? It's not destroyed, right? People still over there. This is talking about future Babylon, mystery Babylon, right? Our dear brother Daniel lived in the kingdom of Babylon and got, even into the Persians took over, right? And he accounted, he was a scribe. And he never wrote about Babylon being destroyed when the Persians took over. So this is talking about a future Babylon, which is America, right? That we can read about in Revelation and other places, right? So it says, Babylon become a desolation among the nations. And how would they become a desolation among the nations? Through World War III, through thermonuclear fire, the ICBM missiles that Russia and China and Korea and them got, right? Then it says, I laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou hast not, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. Because that's what they do here. Everything that this place pushes is against God, anti-Bible, anti-God, all that stuff. Even straight down to their Christianity, right? Because we already established that they don't practice the same Christianity that we practice, right? The proof is in the pudding, right? Because their Christianity allows them to be as violent as they want to anybody, right? And still go to church on Sunday, right? But our Christianity tells us to forgive everybody except for a black person. Because we good at loving and forgiving everybody, right? Except for the person that looks just like you. That's the Christianity that we practice. So, it says, I laid a snare for thee, and thou have not taken it. O Babylon, how thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. The Lord has opened up his armory, and has brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord, God of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. So God like, look, man, I'm about to pull out all the stocks, all the little scientists I've been curating in the lab and having them make their little chemicals and their bombs and stuff. Ooh, I got something for you people, right? That's what he's talking about, right? And it says, come against her from the utmost borders, open her storehouse, cast her up as heat, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left, right? And that's what's going to happen to this place when they decide to push that button. Because Trump keep playing with these people, right? Hold on, 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, so Trump keep playing with these people, so like it. And Russia already told him, don't play. You know, what's that Project Pat, Mr. Don't Play, right? Because he said he's going to do it. And it says, come against her from the utmost borders, open her storehouses, cast her up as heat, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left, right? And that's what's going to go down. And we got to understand it's coming. Nothing we can do about it. All the thing we can do is pray and keep the faith and keep the commandments of the Most High God. Because truthfully, only the Israelites have the salvation to get out of this, right? Nobody else. The Bible's telling us that. When Putin decides to push that button and knock this place off the map, God is only going to preserve his people out of this place, right? And you better hope you were part of that number, because some of us ain't going to probably leave out of this place, right? So you better hope you're part of that number. And it says, let's jump over here. Let's start at 25. So Jeremiah 51 and 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, said the Lord, which destroy all the earth. And that's what they did. They destroyed all of the earth through pollution, through war, conquest, their policies, their agendas, everything, right? And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will roll thee down from the rocks. I will make thee a burnt mountain, right? Meaning that thermonuclear fire is going to turn this place into a crisp, right? Then it says, and they shall not take thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but thou shalt be desolate forever, said the Lord. Meaning, they're not going to be able to rebuild this place back up. It's not going to be, like a foundation where you can start from, like, oh, okay, well, we can just start right here, everybody. Okay, everybody, just start right here. It's not going to be none of that, right? This place is going to be a blip on the map. It's going to be like, boop, just like that. You're going to be on, one day, you're going to be on Google Maps one day. You're going to be, oh, okay, Google Maps. You're going to see a picture of America and all the other nations. Then all of a sudden, it's going to be, boop. It ain't like, damn, what happened to the whole west side of the whole thing? That's what's going to happen, right? Just like that. Because what it tells us in Revelation, in 1 hour, this place is going to be destroyed. Okay, that's how long it takes from those ICBMs to leave China and Russia. Google it, look it up, it tells you 45 minutes travel all the way over here. Roughly an hour. Okay? So, it says, behold, I'm against thee, destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyed all the earth. I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will roll thee down from the rocks. I will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundation, but thou shalt be desolate forever, said the Lord. Right? And it says, set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call it together against her kingdom. Right? So that's what happened, right? All these nations is coming together, right? That's what the BRIC is, right? That's what Gucci Mane, the real Pooh Shiesty, all of them over there doing together. The BRICS wide, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, right? South America, right? They ready, right? They getting their stuff together, right? They got their mind right, money right, ready for war, right? And we was going over last week that Russia's not worried about no dang old sanctions. There's no sanctions that you can put on these people that's going to stop them from doing what they're doing, right? So, what is that? It says, call together against the kingdoms of Ararat. Who is Ararat? Ararat is Turkey, right? That's modern day Turkey. Turkey is supposed to be with NATO, right? But they're cozying up to the BRICS wise. We talk about this. They're on the docket to join the BRICS wide, right? So, and even though that Turkey is a European country, but they're Islamic, so they kind of side with the Hamas people over there. Matter of fact, they do side with them, and they're still buying oil from Russia when they're not supposed to, right? So they down with Russia and them, right? But they're under NATO. They're like almost like a, you can almost say they like a spy. Somebody that's there to kind of disrupt NATO's plan, for they won't fully just be straight world domination all over. So they kind of there to kind of buffer it a little bit, because they mess with the Muslim world. They mess with the Eastern European world, right? So it says, Turkey, which is the kingdom of Ararat. Menenin. What is Menenin? Menenin is Iran. That's an ancient way of saying Iran. Menenin. Let's look at the news today. What is going on? Those are the countries that we see teaming up with Russia. That is the BRICS wide. The Bible knew what was going on back then, right? Our dear brother Jeremiah knew what he was talking about, right? Because we can see these same nations to this day is forming up to go against America and their counterparts, just like Jeremiah said it was. So it says, Menenin and Ashkenaz. What is Ashkenaz? That's Russia. That's the old USSR. That's them. Like we was talking about how they're trying to bring their whole little USSR back, the Soviet Union back. That's them, right? That's what the Ashkenaz is, right? That's their, their Crimea, their Ukraine, their other little satellite states that they had going on during that time, right? Then it says, appointed a captain against her, and caused the horses to come up as rough caterpillars, right? And that's talking about that missiles, those trails, the little fire and the smoke that you can see from when a missile flying through the air, So, but yeah, you know how they get down. So right, we see the nations that's going to be a catalyst into taking this place down, because the Bible names them, right, and tell us who these nations is going to be.
To use this
right?
feature, please make sure your app is ready and can access the internet.
So it's rated again. It says, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her kingdoms of Ararat, which is Turkey, Meneni. Play this music, right? So, yeah, they getting down on us, right? But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up anyway, because they trying to, Big Brother is watching. So, but yeah, so these are the ones that's gonna be a pivotal, role in taking down this place, right? Because we see it right here, and we see them leaking up today, and we also can read about it in Bible prophecy. So we got to keep our eyes open. So although we have a lot of distractions going on, got to keep our eyes on prophecy. So I'm going to say with that, right? I'm going to say with that, hold on, one more. It says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, which is, again, that would be our Russian brothers. And it says, and the captains of all the rulers, therefore, in all the land of his dominion. So the brick squad is coming, right? The brick squad is coming, right? And that's the real brick squad, and the real Pooh Shiesty is coming for these people. And they're going to burn her with fire, like we read in Revelation. So I'm going to end it right there, because I know these people, like I said, they would probably try to, block it again. But I'm going to say shalom, peace. Hopefully that was edifying. And again, we're not saying to celebrate or anything, but I'm just saying you don't have to celebrate, just emotionally don't participate, right? And that's what I'm choosing to do. Emotionally not to participate and not feel either way about it. But I can say it's messed up that in that form that he was in, that happened, because it's not like he was running from the issues. So that, I would say that. But again, do I care? Nah. But again, I'm going to say shalom, peace. We out. But before we out, let's play us out with some leaving out music. Alright, let's get us some leaving out music. DB Goods, take us home. Yeah.
I ain't really wanna be moving when it's wartime. Niggas love the clout chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records of a trace, when your crime is organized. No man is over me, I'm high in the morning time. Low key in the birds when I'm crossing state borderlines. Spin your block and horrified, fuck your bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga, hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine, both of mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime, you know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me, I don't need them to notice me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do them bogusly. Smoke you like the stove for you, beat you like the stove for me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment, niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me, that's what they supposed to do. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, bustin'. You know how I'm coming, you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, you came with me, gang. You know what's going, stop playing with me. Real gangsters move critically. When that shit get critical, no peace amongst enemies, no pity for the pitiful. Real nigga down to the bones and the minerals. Stick to the G code, I never told another soul. True to the literature, now salute the general. Kill you on your birthday, then slide on your funeral. It ain't about the clout chase, I'm a man of principle. Niggas out of body, now they body isn't critical. Cradle to the casket, the life we live is typical. God body, cause I will depart you from your physical. Niggas living fantasies, act like they was the only one. Don't talk to me about these streets, fuck you think you know me from. Just cause you related to them gangsters, that don't make you one. I ain't got no bloodline in these streets, but I could spill me some. I ain't got no mercy for this bitch, that she outside with us. They on demon time, we bring them hell and the fire with us.